Good afternoon from Toronto. We hope you're well and safe. My name is Zohair Hassanbai, your MC for today, and Victor Ng and Adrian Ho are our technical directors. Welcome one and all to the Travel with a Touch of Business Class webinar. Undoubtedly, travel has been devastated by COVID-19. Travelers cannot visit their dream destinations nor visit their beloved family members. International business people cannot close deals and drive growth. With travel in the Depression, this webinar will examine what travel looks like today in Hong Kong and Canada to try to predict, if possible, what will happen in the next 3, 6, or maybe 12 months. We will attempt to see the role of business travel during these periods. From a review of the registrants today, we know that a large portion of the attendees are in the travel, hospitality, and tourism sector, about 60%. This, more than anything else, shows how much interest there is in getting travel back, but perhaps in a different format. Before we start, I want to thank our sponsors. The Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, the Hong Kong ETO, based here in Toronto, and the Canadian Office of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, or HKTDC, and the Hong Kong Tourism Board in Canada. We are always appreciative of these Hong Kong family members who have been continuously supporting the Toronto section of HKCBA in so many different ways. We are honored to have several distinguished guests who would like to present greetings to our audience. I invite Ms. Emily Mo, Director of the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office in Toronto, to say a few words of welcome. Over to you, Emily.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Year 2020 is definitely a challenging year in many ways, such as not being able to travel abroad and maintaining physical distance with friends or even family members. The past year has also been difficult for Hong Kong, but we have overcome many challenges. Being a densely populated city, Hong Kong has never experienced a lockdown. Although another wave of pandemic hit the city in summer, after weeks of concerted efforts by the government and the community, the situation is under control and the daily number of cases remains mostly in single digit currently. The theme parks in Hong Kong, including the Ocean Park and Hong Kong Disneyland, just opened their doors again to receive local visitors under special measures. Hong Kong people, are very keen to travel, and our new trend is to travel locally. Many of my friends in Hong Kong had their staycation in local hotels, creating happy and special memories with family and friends this month. Looking ahead, the government is discussing with some countries to create a travel bubble, but I'm sure that it will take some time for all of us to work out the protocol and the new normal. For those who are able to travel between Canada and Hong Kong this year, they had never encountered any difficulties. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the two airlines, including Cathay Pacific, for maintaining the Canada-Hong Kong flights over the past months. Lately, there is speculation of Hong Kong's rule of law and freedoms possibly being undermined. I would like to clarify that crimes stipulated in the new national security law in Hong Kong should not bother general and business tourists in Hong Kong who has no intention to commit those crimes. The rule of law, as well as the various legitimate rights and freedoms, are the fundamental core values of Hong Kong and are much cherished by the government and the community. While we are still staying home, most of us, you may consider participating in a very exciting international event just on your couch. From October 22nd to 24th, Hong Kong, along with Toronto, New York, Los Angeles, London, and Singapore will be co-hosting a World City, an online festival which explores all facets of urban life, stewardship, and creativity. The event We'll be joined by over 10,000 passionate world citizens for thought-provoking presentations, inspiring conversations, as well as exciting experiences and performance from these world best cities. Soha will share a video on this event at the end of the webinar. Finally, I would like to thank the Toronto section of Hong Kong CBA for organizing this webinar and the panelists for sharing their insights. I'm sure that you will enjoy the video as well as the discussion of the panel. I look forward to seeing you on other webinars in the near future and traveling to Hong Kong with you on the same flight very soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Emily, for your greetings. As Emily mentioned, there will be a video presented by the HKETO at the end of the webinar. Please stay tuned in for that. Now, we have a video greeting from Mr. Dane Cheng, Executive Director of the Hong Kong Tourism Bureau based in Hong Kong.
Hello, friends in Canada. My name is Dane Chen, and I'm the Executive Director of the Hong Kong Tourism Board. It is a great pleasure to speak to you on this online tourism webinar, although I'm sad we cannot meet in person. Hong Kong and Canada have been close friends and partners for many years. Many of us have family and friends living there, and the Canadians love coming to Hong Kong. In 2019, Hong Kong hosted some 320,000 visitors from Canada. For the time being, of course, the pandemic is keeping us apart, and we miss Canada as much as I'm sure many of you miss Hong Kong. What we can do, however, is prepare for the many joyous reunions that we will enjoy when the time is right. The Hong Kong SAR government has been particularly vigilant in tackling the COVID-19 with some of the toughest disease prevention measures anywhere in the world. Our tourism sector has been especially active in implementing stringent hygiene measures supported by advanced technology. And we are working towards producing a unified set of protocols as we move into a new era in which hygiene and safety will be travelers' highest priorities. In the next stage of our tourism recovery, we'll create a region-leading online platform called Open House Hong Kong to entice visitors with attractive offers and exciting experiences. On digital upgrades, we have revamped our website, discoverhongkong.com, which now features more stories, itineraries, and recommendations. And we are rolling out a series of hybrid experiences based around our Great Outdoors campaign and our ever-popular Wine and Dine Festival. You can expect to see top chefs and wine experts hosting online activities to help get you inspired for your next trip to Hong Kong. Dear friends, this is a time to move forward with caution, but also with confidence. We truly believe that an exciting new beginning awaits us all in the not-too-distant future. When that time comes, we'll welcome you back with open arms and more wonderful experiences. Thank you, and I hope everyone here today has a rewarding and inspiring time.
Okay, thank you, Dane. I appreciate that. And thanks also go to Michael Lim from the Tourism Bureau here in Canada for arranging this greeting. You know, this video really adds to the tone and substance of this webinar. I like the Open House Hong Kong and the Wine and Dine Festival. I look forward to hearing more about that. Next, we have Philippe Lecomte. We're delighted to have him able to join us by video. One suggestion is to increase your volume because it is a little softer in the recording. So if you can increase your volume, everybody, you'll be able to hear Philippe's important message.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Well, when Jane asked me to say a few words, I realised, of course, I had very little choice. Firstly, because Jane had asked me, and we can all translate that code. And secondly, because I take my honorary life membership very seriously. What a strange world we live in today. I mean, who would have thought we'd see the Stars play the Lightning in the Stanley Cup final? It's crazy, right? And on top of that, we have COVID, global lockdowns, battered economies, floods, hurricanes, wildfires, and to top it all off, a US election. The theme of today's panel is very timely, and I would agree. We need to avoid being distracted by the current challenges so that we can see the upcoming opportunities in both Hong Kong and Canada. Frankly, that's where Cathay Pacific is fortunate in having the Swire family as a major shareholder, as they view the world through a generational time horizon that helps give real perspective to short-term issues, however existential they may feel at the time. I can tell you, running a business at 1% of revenue can feel existential. Hong Kong is resilient, and Cathay Pacific is also resilient. We've come through tough times before, 2 financial crises, SARS, 9/11, and we will come through the COVID impact. We are grateful to the Hong Kong government and our existing shareholders for the refinancing package we needed in July. And I will make the point that in true Hong Kong fashion, the loan we received from the government is an interest-bearing loan that needs to be repaid. It's not the kind of bailout that we see in many other countries. However, it was very encouraging to hear the government talk about the major contribution Cathay Pacific has made to Hong Kong over the last 74 years. Now, we've had to be agile and shift capacity from travelling customers to the cargo demand and reduce our fleet size dramatically. At the lowest point earlier this year, we actually reduced the network by 97%. Now, IATA, that's the Aviation Industries Association, forecasts a very slow recovery until 2024 for international travel. We will be reshaping our fleet and capacity to meet the realities of less demand. We currently have 40% of our fleet parked, although we will be able to respond quickly if the market recovers faster than anticipated. The biggest challenges we face are consumer confidence and border restrictions. We need to help educate the travelling public on everything being done to keep aviation as the safest form of transportation. And actually, if you aren't aware of all the additional hygiene measures Cathay Pacific has taken, Jane can certainly give you the details. A bigger impediment to recovery is the restrictions on free movement, with additional documentation requirement and measures such as quarantine. These need to be addressed swiftly, and a more sophisticated approach taken using rapid testing, contact tracing, increasing therapeutic treatments, and potentially, ultimately, a vaccine. Well, if we take a step back and we observe the last 18 months, it's clearly been a very challenging time for Hong Kong, and by extension, those countries that have close ties with Hong Kong. I'm fortunate to have spent enough time in Canada to appreciate the deep-rooted ties with Hong Kong. Time will tell whether the security law really does have a dampening effect on Hong Kong as a whole, but we can be sure that the constant entrepreneurial drive of Hong Kong and the people who do business with Canadian companies will work out how to operate within the changing environment, just as has been the case over more than 150 years, and always with great success. So as we look forward to upcoming opportunities, we must consider Hong Kong's ever-increasing role in the Greater Bay Area. That's one of the world's fastest growing economic areas. Hong Kong's position as one of the world's greatest intermodal logistics hubs, as well as being a world financial, trading and professional services centre of excellence, the future looks bright. Actually, as we look at longer term economic forecasts and trends, there is a strong argument that Hong Kong's best days are still ahead of it, and that the relationship with Canada, which is driven by many of the people participating in this webinar, will continue to develop ever more positively. Well, thank you for giving me the chance to share a few thoughts. I'm sure you'll have a lively and interesting panel, and I look forward to hearing all about the insights that come from your discussions. Thank you.
And thank you, Philippe. Glad to see that you still have the Toronto section honorary life membership certificate, and is framed as well. That's great. Before we continue, let me do a little plug for the Hong Kong Canada Business Association. For those who are not familiar with our association, we are founded in we were founded in 1984, and it was designed to expand strategic relationships between Canada and Asia, using Hong Kong as the platform to advance this objective. Also, we facilitate a network for professionals and entrepreneurs to connect and develop high-level business relationships at Hong Kong CBA events throughout the year. We are a founder of the 13,000 member Federation of Hong Kong Business Associations worldwide. I would now like to introduce Bob Mowat, our moderator today, and our panelists. Every one of them are specialists in travel and or business. So there's Bob Mowat, the Executive Director of Baxter Travel Media. Right next to, in the image there, right next to Bob is Andrew, who's the Director of Canada of the Hong Kong Trade Development Council. Michael Lim, who's the Director Canada for Central and South America, Hong Kong Tourism Board. Jane Rooney, who's the Corporate Sales Manager, Eastern Canada, Cathay Pacific Airways. Ms. Shana Betts, Senior Director, BCD Travel. And Patrick Chong, founder and principal of GLP Worldwide. Thank you very much for being part of the panelists. Part of the panel. Bob, may I ask you to take over? You're muted. Bob, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Zohair. Much appreciated. I don't get out much these days, so doing something virtually is a great deal of excitement around that. And I think we're going to start with Michael Lim at Hong Kong because he's going to sort of set the scene. Got a few things to say, and then we're going to talk to the rest of the panelists about how things are going in their segment of the market. And I'm looking to have a conversation, so we're going to relax and just talk to each other. So, Michael, over to you.
Okay, Bob, I just need to share screen.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining us for the travel webinar. Just to start off, it'll be a gradual return and likely to start with travel bubbles, followed by border restrictions and quarantine requirements being lifted at both ends. And of course, finally, the availability of the vaccine. In the meantime, what are we doing for Hong Kong? So let's start off with our transportation companies, hotels, restaurants, attractions, and venues. They are all ensuring the consistent, rigorous cleaning procedures are taking place. I would like to share a couple of examples. The MTR Corporation has implemented vaporized hydrogen peroxide robots to decontaminate train carriages and stations. Additionally, areas of high contact are disinfected every 2 hours. Black sheep restaurants have been leading the scene not only in Hong Kong by developing a manual. It has become a blueprint worldwide known as the Playbook. The Playbook is a COVID-19 standard operating procedures manual. Our theme parks are open again. Many attractions have opened again for our staycation program, known as Hello Hong Kong, a holiday at home. And for the MICE market, hey, we have got some good news to share. Hong Kong was recently chosen as the host city for 4 international MICE events, including the first ever high strategic value events, as well as 2 repeated events in these challenging times. We have choreographed a 3-stage plan: resilience, recovery, and rebrand. We have developed a nimble and flexible plan to reconnect and rebuild confidence before the borders reopen as part of the recovery phase. The theme is Discover Hong Kong Treasures, which will focus on the great outdoors, as well as the Epicurean experiences that Hong Kong has to offer. Of course, featuring the virtual Wine and Dine Festival, first ever in November. And let us now enjoy a short video on the great outdoors of Hong Kong. Hopefully you enjoyed that. To also support this phase, we have secured some major TV reruns. Next month, we'll replay 6 episodes of Michelle Lo's Hong Kong Neighborhood Gems on Fairchild TV for our ethnic audience. For the mainstream audience, we will rerun our award-winning Discover Hong Kong Like a Local with Claire Newell on Global TV, BC, and as well as National Geographic Channel across Canada. So please tune in to enjoy. We will also be rebranding Hong Kong. We are in the midst of developing media co-ops with Entertainment Canada, Globe Mail, and others. We will reactivate the Weather Network integrated campaign that was paused from last year. To conclude, I would like to share one of the social media spots that will be airing on the Weather Network. It features Rachel, the host, finding one of Hong Kong's cultural treasures, Cantonese opera.
Chinese opera. We have an exclusive look today at the behind the scenes makeover that goes into the incredible looks of Chinese opera. This is ancient history and we are bringing it to you. And guess what? I am sitting in the chair getting my makeup done today. Let's go. Check this out. You can see them getting ready. Real hair being glued onto my head. This is truly an art. I think people are thinking, what is this woman doing? Little do they know, I'm from Canada.
Hopefully you enjoyed those videos. And lastly, stay tuned for more information on Hong Kong. You can find everything you need to know about the destination on discoverhongkong.com. And also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and all the other social channels that we have. And of course, stay tuned for all our open house offers that will be available to the international market when the situation improves. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. I can see you've been keeping busy during these quiet times. I wanted to go to the rest of the panel now and maybe get each of them to sort of set the scene as well. Shana, do you want to start and talk about the business side of things?
I certainly can. Thanks for having me to talk about corporate or business travel today. And after seeing Michael's videos, I certainly can't wait to get on a plane. So it's probably not a surprise to anyone that we're seeing very little international business travel at this point. What we're predicting is that domestic Canada travel will come back first, and we're slowly starting to see some of that. However, you know, Michael and Philippe both mentioned, because of mandatory quarantine requirements, even sometimes when you're traveling within domestic Canada, but more so internationally, it really makes business travel very difficult and cumbersome. So, you know, until these restrictions are lifted, and while they're important from a public health perspective, we really need them to be lifted before we see a resurgence in business travel.
Thanks, Shana, much appreciated. I'm wondering if I could ask Andrew to jump in there, because you're on the meetings and convention side. There's a little bit of connection there. What's the status of things in that segment?
Thank you, Bob. I would like to share the experience of our organization on this subject. Now, my organization, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, HKTDC, is Hong Kong's semi-government trade promotion agency. To fulfill our mandate of promoting international trade, one of our major undertakings is staging international trade fairs and conferences in Hong Kong. Every year, we have over 40 international trade fairs and conferences, well participated by delegates from around the world. From Canada, every year, on average, we have about 4,000 Canadian exhibitors, buyers, and visitors flying to Hong Kong for these events. However, since February this year, under the pandemic impact, our trade fairs and conferences in Hong Kong, like all the other events around the world, have not been able to take place physically and our Canadian delegates have not been able to fly into Hong Kong for the event. But to beat the COVID barrier on physical events and on international travel, we have been moving our trade fairs and conferences online. From Canada, our Canadian delegates have been able to meet new and existing business partners from around the world at these virtual platforms to build and sustain their international selling, procurement, and other business activities via their home and office computers. Under this new normal, this is one of the ways we have adopted to keep the Canada-Hong Kong-Asia business momentum going. And this will also lay the foundation for the modified model of international trade fairs and conferences industry in the post-pandemic era. So watch out for the hybrid model. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks, Andrew. It's nice to hear some positive stuff coming along. I want to go to Patrick. How's things on the leisure side of the business? Patrick?
Patrick, you're muted. Patrick, you're muted. Okay.
Okay. Everything was wonderful early in this year, and we were doing great, and then comes this COVID-19, and then everything just dropped it to ground level, to ground zero, I mean. All our tour program from March, I would say, has been canceled or postponed it all the way to April 2021. Because our client bases, and under the survey that we talked to most of these people, 60% of these people will say we will not travel until there's a vaccine. Lucky enough, we still have 40% of people who are ready to travel when the world is open for them. I think the key now is a lot of people want to go to Hong Kong, a lot of people want to go to Asia because it seems like they are doing much better than this part of the world comes to the control of this pandemic. But because of this quarantine requirement on both sides of the world, a lot of people is holding the horse. I'm not worried if people will travel because they will, but I do have a concern when this gate will be open for both sides of the world that we can travel freely over there with some sort of requirement like testing. But the quarantine is the big stop for everyone for now.
I think a lot of people have similar concerns. It's just, my mother said, be patient, but I always used to say, but Mom, how long, how long? How long?
Well, the worst will always be over, so.
All right, I'm going to talk to Jane now because she's going to tell us what's going on the airline side of things.
It's all spectacular on the airline side. So unfortunately, we share everybody else's pain as well. But with Cathay Pacific being, Hong Kong, we're doing our very best to work with the situation. We all know this situation is fluid, and we're just keeping our eye on that, so making changes accordingly. With those changes, as Philippe alluded in his video, we are operating on a reduced network and schedule. But the good news is that Canada brought back both of our flights. So we're operating both out of Vancouver and Toronto. And in the month of October, Toronto is operating 5 days a week. And moving into November, we're scheduled for 7 days a week. So that's all great news. We see with Shana, she said that domestic is picking up. Actually, that is actually the case in Asia. So domestic Asia is certainly picked up. International, because of the restrictions, is going to take longer. But Hong Kong is doing its very best on its end to.
Excuse me, Jane. We're not really hearing you very clearly because it seems to be breaking up, and we're missing an important message from you. Maybe you can you try again one more time? Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, start from the beginning, you mean?
Well, as maybe in bullet points.
Okay, so let's just say that Cathay has reinstated the Canadian flights, both Vancouver and Toronto, so that's good news. we're working with Hong Kong. Hong Kong is very diligent with their testing and their quarantine measures, ensuring that, COVID stays in its place. Canada restrictions, we're only allowing Hong Kong ID card only members traveling on Cathay, and we're very strict about that. So Cathay's done some positive things as well. We are very much part of the Hong Kong community. So we've worked with the Marco Polo Club and reinstated and relief extension programs for Marco Polo Club members. We have the Cathay Care program. We have the Fly Worry Free program. We have worked within the Hong Kong community, and we've donated 500 iPads to underprivileged school kids during this COVID time. We've donated 30,000 meals to those in need in Hong Kong. We've worked with the Hong Kong Hospital Authority and made sure that the PPE requirements are there. So Cathay Pacific is very much part of the Hong Kong community, and we'll look forward to getting back as quickly as we can.
Thanks, Jane. Much appreciated. Do you have something else for us now?
A little bit later.
A little bit later? Sorry, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
I'm left-handed, so I can't read my own writing. I know one of the things, and I see surveys every day about what travelers want, and what they don't want, and this, that, and the other thing. But I'm wondering if maybe, Jane, you could start and talk about what what consumers are looking for at the airport on board the flight.
Sure.
What
Sure.
helps restore confidence and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So traveler safety is always Cathay's top priority. Always has and always will be. We've enhanced measures across every stage of the journey. So temperature checks, face masks, social distancing, that's mandatory through every stage of the journey. So from check-in to onboard to arrival. So if we sort of just look at that quickly, different enhancements Cathay's made within that journey. So we have contactless check-in and boarding. We have online check-in, self-serve kiosks, physical distance protective screens. We have our lounges. They have made enhancements to the lounges. So prior to entry, once again, temperature checks, masks are mandatory. We blocked seating within our lounges. We removed reading materials and replaced that with a free Press Reader app. We've made changes to our meal service in the lounges. Prioritizing your boarding. So providing safe travel environment. We've sanitized every flight, of course. We're using a hospital-grade disinfectant to do that. We have the HEPA filter throughout the cabin. So 99.99% of airborne contaminants will not be existent. We have modified meal services on board, so eliminates reduced contact with the cabin crew. We have block seats. Prior to even queuing up, you have to have a temperature check to queue up, to check in. So we've done everything possible to make everybody feel safe and have a safe environment. Also, the cabin crew, it's mandatory for the cabin crew to wear masks, gloves, and they're provided goggles as well. They have strict layover guidelines now, and they also have medical surveillance that they have to abide by as well. So those are just a few of the things that we've done from start to finish, and to make everybody feel comfortable and safe.
Thanks, Jane. Michael, do you have anything to add from a destinations point of view? Michael?
I think it was mostly covered in the presentation. So yes, we are looking at, a concerted effort amongst all our stakeholders in tourism in Hong Kong to ensure, of course, safety and hygiene measures and all that are upgraded, and to ensure there is that the consumer journey is as smooth and as possible.
Right. That's good. I want to go back to business travel, but I'm interested to see how travel management companies are actually working with their clients right now and supporting them at this time. Shana, can you jump on that one?
Yeah, of course, Bob. Thank you. So prior to COVID-19, I don't think anyone would be surprised that one of the top priorities of many of our customers really centered around savings and cost controls. However, that has dramatically changed since March through customer surveys, discussions.
Still there?
Oh. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're good.
Oh, okay, I didn't do anything. Did you hear anything that I said, Bob, or do you want me to start?
Yeah, the first bit about originally it was cost and savings.
Yeah, so the top two priorities now of our customers really focus around duty of care and traveler satisfaction and well-being. And duty of care is really the legal obligation that companies have to provide a standard of care for employees. And that also applies to when they're on business trips. So while there are many components that make up a travel risk management program, we're very focused on our clients' expectations to provide specific travel advice and guidance to travelers. So BCD has developed a COVID information hub that provides guidance and advice to travelers. And it really focuses on three components: before they leave, while they're on the road, and then when they get back home. Travelers can find all the information they need specific to their trip. So for example, entry requirements, quarantine requirements. And then Jane mentioned a lot of what Cathay Pacific is doing, and our information hub really focuses on supplier information as well. So what can they expect when they board the aircraft? What can they expect at their local airport? When they check into their hotel, are there temperature checks? What are the enhanced cleaning protocols at the hotel? We fundamentally believe that until companies and travelers have the information they need to feel confident, travel will really not resume. So we at BCD are doing our part to restore that confidence.
Thanks, Dana. Shana, much appreciated. Andrew, I'm just wondering if you wanted to jump in here, because I know there are some events coming up that you might want to talk about in terms of what people can look forward to in terms of events that are coming to Hong Kong.
Okay, thank you so much, Bob. Well, in the past, when we promote Hong Kong, we ask company ask us, why Hong Kong? We want to do business with Asia. We tell them that because of the level of comfort going through Hong Kong. That is what Hong Kong is offering. But nowadays, for business travelers, they are also looking for another kind of comfort, that is safety. For delegates to trade fairs and conferences, they would look upon the event organizers and venue operators to provide them with an environment safe from possible virus spread, and not just safe venues and facilities, but also safe fellow delegates with whom they're going to discuss business with. So for international trade fairs and conferences, definitely advanced technologies will be deployed and stringent measures are expected to be practiced as and when events are reopened under the new normal. And safety is definitely the top priority of all event organizers. Now, in the meantime, as I mentioned earlier on, to help companies from around the world, including Canadian companies, to continue their business discussion with their partners from around the world, we use the online platform. And upcoming, for example, we are migrating our trade fairs and conferences for the rest of this year onto the online platform. And since this is an HKCBA event, one signature event that I would like to mention is the Hong Kong Forum, the annual Hong Kong Forum. In cooperation with the Hong Kong Canada Business Association, we are in the process of organizing a virtual Team HKCBA delegation to the Hong Kong Forum online. So please stay tuned. More details will be announced, and we'll be also organizing or staging a webinar specifically on this particular virtual delegation. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, much appreciated. I've been doing this for so long, I have to ask about travel agents, and maybe Patrick can help me out here. I'm just wondering how you're working with agents now when things are kind of at a standstill. Patrick?
I think I'm on now. Okay. This
Okay.
comes to the customer engagement. And throughout this past 6-7 months, we have a lot of people who book on the tour and now they cannot travel. But doesn't mean they don't want to travel. So they are all waiting and want to get the update from us, make sure they are in our scope so that they will be able to travel when the world is ready for them. I'm not worried whether the travel will go down or not. Just based on some of the statistics we have, most of the tour being postponed to next year, and some of them is being postponed to 2022. And the number of passengers remain on the tour is probably from the 65 to 90%, depends on what type of tour we have. So that tells you people are still very anxious to go to travel. But now because of this lockdown, so they are not able to. I think as long as we can address the safety, as long as we can address the insurance company and have the proper coverage for people to travel, I think we can go back to the norm within probably 12 to 24 months.
That's good news. Jane, do you have anything to add to that in terms of working with agents, what you're talking to them about?
Yes,
Hello?
we work very closely with the both the TMCs, the travel management companies, and the consolidators and retailers. So Cathay, we always give updates as to where we stand and if there's any changes or restrictions or whatnot. We have an information website that we coordinate with Cathay cxagentscanada.com. So we communicate with them, and we share our information on a regular basis, and we coordinate and chat to make sure that we're all on the same page, to make sure that the travelers are safe, and that any travel policies that have changed or whatnot with our clients, because we all share the same clients. So we want to make sure that safety is the top priority for everybody.
Michael, anything to add?
Sure. For us as a tourism board, I guess right now, it's all about engagement. We want to make sure that travel agents is aware about the latest information on Hong Kong. So we actually successfully concluded 3 webinars with our travel media recently, which were very well attended. And we do plan to have another round of travel agent seminars coming up in November, going to disclose more treasures of Hong Kong and features the great outdoors and the wine and dine, and of course, with the latest updates at that time. So for travel agents, stay tuned for more information.
All right, good to keep them busy. All right, last question, and this is, it's a short question, but I'm not sure that the answer is easy. I think the question is when? When are people going to travel between Canada and Hong Kong again? Patrick, you gave an answer, so I'll let you start first.
Well, I think the actual when is not being controlled by us, or we can name the date. Again, this has to be a bilateral agreement between the countries when they open. I'm sure a lot of people are ready to move on. Maybe the younger group and the more active group will start travel first without the vaccine. And then we will move on to the more mature people who will travel afterward. But I am sure people are ready to move after the 6 months of sitting in their own country, not moving around. And everybody's so anxious, to do something, to travel somewhere. I think that's what I would say.
What about you, Andrew?
Thank you. I think as our fellow panelists are saying, we are waiting for the right environment to start physical travel again. But my message is that in the meantime, whether you are services companies, whether you are actually doing businesses, don't stop. Make use of what we are given. Use the online platform. Work with the Hong Kong family in Canada, Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, Hong Kong Canada Business Association, and my organization, and Hong Kong Tourism Board. We are here to work with you to keep the momentum going and be resilient. Don't give up. Thank you.
Positive is good. Shana, what about you?
Gosh, I wish my crystal ball was working properly today because I'd love to be able to tell you.
The lottery number, please.
Yeah, you know, that 2024 date that Philippe quoted that I is quoting is scary, I think, for all of us, you know, on this webinar. You know, virtual can replace some travel, but from a business perspective, that face-to-face is always going to be required. So I really hope that we see a rebound soon.
Michael?
Echo everybody else. I think, you know, we're here. We're doing our plans to and ensure that we're ready to go once the borders open. That there's something to look forward to when we welcome back our Canadians to Hong Kong.
Jane, what about you?
So everybody wants to have a positive outlook on this, and you know, Cathay certainly does. I think it's positive that Cathay's brought their flights back online. I think that it's positive that, you know, our business class cabin is, you know, going out with passengers in it. Our premium economy cabins, our loads are, you know, certainly not where they used to be, but they're above average for this pandemic for sure. And, you know, we're also working with Bangkok government, and we're doing repatriation for them on a monthly basis. So that puts some more loads in our seats. And we also, our cargo, that's a good news story for us as well, because cargo is really holding up. And during the pandemic for cargo, we've actually transformed our passenger flights, our 777-300 ERs, into a cargo passenger only flight. So that's been quite something. That's the first time in history that Cathay has ever done that. And we certainly stepped up to the plate. So there's lots of good news on the Cathay side, but again, we'll have to wait like everybody else and be patient and act accordingly. And safety is, you know, our first.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you're all very positive, so that's at least a good thing. We're going to go to some questions from the audience. And one of the ones that I think is interesting, because it's been such a big issue, or at least a lot of people are involved in it, is the whole issue of climate change, sustainability. And Lucy Damiani, hopefully I pronounced that right, was asking about whether Hong Kong has a strategy for ecotourism, noting the Great Outdoors program. I wondered if you can try to respond to that, Michael.
Sure. Yeah, we're definitely looking into it and digging, you know, much more in depth in our studies of sustainability. And I would love to have an offline session with the Inquirer to follow up with Lucy on how we move forward and how we can work together.
Okay, good. And Patrick, you're on the tour operators side. Where is sustainability in your business in terms of your plans?
Well, with the great help from the government, I'm quite sure we can last much longer than we anticipated. Well, the good news is, like, since this thing happened up till now, our office is fully operating. We have some staff working from home, some work in the office because of the space that we have. And we haven't stopped for one day. And we are busy on creating different type of new products. Like now we're creating this 5x5 type of product. We believe people would not like to move around too often on a tour. So they would like to stay in each individual places, you know, for minimum 5 days. So we're thinking in Asia is probably the first place that will recover before Europe, before North America. So we put a lot of focuses on the Asian product, like Hong Kong, plus whatever other city that we have. So we are busy. So basically, if the gates open, I'm quite sure we can put people on the plane and go into that part of the world.
Okay, thank you. Jane, I got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
One person was asking about how are meals served on board the aircraft these days?
Well, carefully. we have made enhancements to the meal service on board, and we have tried to do our very best to be as contactless as possible. Right. We have removed some of the meal choices on board. We have restricted some beverage services on board as well. We've also identified individually packed meals. So we're doing our very best, but yet you're still receiving a lovely meal on board Cathay Pacific, but we've done our best to be as diligent as possible to be as safe as possible with our meal service. Certainly it has changed, but we haven't removed it at all. So you still receive a full meal on board Cathay.
The other one's from Sonja Chong, and I'll read it because it's a little bit complicated. She's read about an airline that provides tests to passengers on their planes on certain routes. The results are available almost right away, such that when they arrive at the destination, if the test results are negative, then the passengers will not be subject to quarantine. Does Cathay have plans to do something like this?
It's not doing that currently. Cathay, of course, we're working on both sides. So we're working from the Canadian side or the North American side to our home, Hong Kong. So I can't speak to that 100% because we don't have plans in place for that currently. We are looking at all different avenues in terms of testing and quickness to respond to this, pandemic, and how we will handle, the testing going forward. We're doing our very best with testing. Hong Kong's been awarded the best airport because of all of its precautions and testing and that sort of thing. So currently we're not doing that same thing, but we are in the works of doing the best we can to enhance all of our testing. So I can look into it further for Sonja for sure, if she wants to reach out to me on the side.
Perfect. Another question about a Canadian with a Hong Kong spouse is allowed to enter Hong Kong, but how does that work? Michael, do you know about that?
Can you repeat the question?
Says Canadian with Hong Kong spouse is allowed to enter Hong Kong. How does that work?
Well, currently, unfortunately, we're not open to Canadian visitors. They're only welcoming returning residents. Okay, but if she wants further clarification on anything, she can always call us directly.
All right. I got another question for Maida Sang. What's the quarantine situation in Hong Kong?
It is 14 days.
Okay. Let me just check. There's more questions.
Again, we actually, if you go to discoverhongkong.com, we provide travel advisories, the latest travel advisories from all our different various resources, including the Hong Kong SAR government, and also and throughout the attractions. So the discoverhongkong.com would be a good reference to start.
Well, it's 2:23. You've got 2 more minutes. I don't see any more questions. So maybe I should hold it. Yeah, so maybe I should turn it back to Zohair and we can move on. Oh, sorry, Jane, you have something to do at the end, do you not?
Oh, I just thought it might be beneficial if we showed a quick little video. And this identifies all the things Cathay are doing with that whole stage of your journey. And it might answer some questions that, haven't been brought up as of yet. And always know that you can go in and check, the different references for the IATA or the Who or Cathay Pacific. We always identify travel alerts on our website, or you can contact me separately. So we'll just have a look at the video. I think it might answer some questions for people.
Thank you.
We're going to be queuing up the video at the moment. Yes, here we go.
When you are ready to fly again, we are ready to help you travel confidently. That's our Cathay Care commitment. We put in place a comprehensive list of safeguarding measures, from cleanliness to prevention and reassurance, that prioritize what matters most to you.
Our safeguarding measures begin even before you fly. Check in online or with our mobile app to minimize physical interaction. Or you can come to the airport to check yourself in at our self-service kiosks, where you can print your boarding pass and tag your own luggage. Our counters are open and we're ready to serve you, but we've put a few safety measures in place. And as an added protection, our check-in counters, kiosks and other common areas have an antimicrobial coating that provides an invisible barrier against any possible viruses and bacteria. No matter how you choose to check in, you will need to answer a few health screening questions and have your temperature checked before entering the airport. If you're waiting for your flight in our lounges, we've put in place extra precautions like more hand sanitizers in common areas, temperature checks, mandatory face coverings, and we have also removed all newspapers and reading materials. We are temporarily offering single-serve, individually packed dishes. And yes, we're still serving hot meals, which will freshly cook right after you've placed your order. We're also changing the way we invite you to board, so you can get to your seat as quickly and easily as possible. Please remember to keep a safe distance from other passengers as you make your way to your seat.
The air conditioning system in every one of our aircraft is equipped with HEPA filters, which have a similar performance to those used in hospital operating rooms. The cabin air refreshes every 2 to 3 minutes. Together with a triple defense barrier, the air conditioning system can filter up to 99.99% of airborne particles. The movement of air also plays an important role. The filtered air does not flow between passengers. It flows vertically from ceiling to the cabin floor before exhausting out from the cabin.
Before your flight and between every single flight, we thoroughly clean and disinfect the entire aircraft with one of the world's most powerful disinfectants. And we change every single headset, headrest cover, pillow cover, bed sheets, and blankets, so you can be sure of getting a new, clean set when you board. We will offer block seats whenever possible. You can rest assured that everyone on board has had their temperatures and health history checked. And we require all passengers and crew to wear a face covering throughout the flight.
You will also receive a Cathay care kit, which contains useful essentials like an extra face covering and antiseptic wipes. And you will find hand sanitizers in all our cabin washrooms, so you can easily keep your hands clean. We have made a few temporary adjustments to our meal service across all classes, as guided by our aviation medical team, to make sure we prioritize your well-being as always, while making sure we offer a meal you will enjoy.
Taking extra care of our cabin crew is and will remain very important to us. Before reporting for duty, we check the temperatures of every member of the team and require a detailed health declaration. And while on board, we equip every member of the team with the protective gear they need. We have introduced stricter rules to make sure our cabin crew minimizes contact with the local community during the layover as much as possible.
Our measures don't end here. We continue to find ways to better care for you on your journey with us and help you travel confidently. And we'll continue to keep you informed and updated. Look forward to welcoming you on board soon.
Okay. Thank you, Bob, for this. Okay, we had some music over there. Bob, thank you very, very much for this, for having a great discussion and a Q&A session as well.
Well, I thank all the panelists for bearing with me, so thank you guys, much appreciated.
I particularly liked the crystal ball question, and then of course the lottery number. But I think the chances of the panelists guessing the right time when borders are going to be open is the chances of getting that right is the same as winning a lottery ticket.
I'm hoping it's better.
Well, it's difficult to say. There's so many variables. So it's beginning to be late. It's nearly an hour now that we've gone through this great webinar, and thank you very much. Now is the time to thank everybody. So here is the list. Of course, I start with Bob. He is an old friend of mine. I think one of my first friends I had in Canada when I arrived many years ago. Of course, Andrew Yui from the TDC, Michael Lim from the Tourism Bureau, and Jane Rooney from Cathay Pacific, Shana Betts from BDC Travel, and Patrick Chung from GLP worldwide. Your contribution is really fantastic, because I think your expertise is what keeps people with us. We are now, the number of people who was started with us has continued to be with us until this last moment, which is very, very fantastic. Of course, we want to thank our greeters, Emily, Dane Cheng, and Philippe Lecomte as well. Our sponsors is a very, very important part of every webinar. And this time is the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, the Hong Kong Trade Development Council, and of course the Hong Kong Tourism Board. We have loot bags for every attendee who's been here with us most of the session, as well as with their full address. So the donors of the articles in the loot bag, the Hong Kong Economic and Trade Office, Hong Kong Trade Development Council, Tourism Board, Cathay Pacific, Sonja Chong Professional Corporation, and CIBc. So thank you one and all. But there's two people that I really want to thank, and that is Michael and Jane. They have been really the backbone of this webinar, because without them, I really would not know where to get such a high caliber group of people to get together and bring them all together and share their experience and their crystal ball, their predictions, and so on with the rest of us. So, and we are very lucky also that they are both on the board of the Hong Kong Canada Business Association in Toronto. So once again, thank you. You made my life a lot easier. Much thank you. Now, at the end, before we end, if you have any questions or if you want a copy of the video of this webinar, please do send your email to me, zohair@hkcba. We have another webinar scheduled in about 2 weeks' time. It's going to be in October 13th at about 1 p.m. Commercial property market with the Hong Kong focus. And finally, I think we would like to close with a bang. And we have Emily mentioned in the beginning that there is a video. I would like to now start that video and thank everybody for attending, and have a great day.
This October, come gather at World City. The planet's first virtual cities festival celebrates the joy and potential of urban life. Learn from leading urban visionaries. Participate in global conversations. Engage in exciting experiences and performances from the world's best cities. Network and connect with like-minded urban citizens from around the world. Experience, explore, share and interact with the cities you want to live, work, play and fight for. Around the world from the comfort of your own home. World City.